just slipped out of the wormhole we've been trapped in for the past couple of months. It's been crazy. We've been traveling all over time, but we're back now.
Back in the bone factory, back in the bone saddle, back in the kingdom of Bone Land. I don't know. I'm just happy to be back.
Me too.
In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. My name is Sophie Massive Injustice Schwartz.
And I'm Katelyn, about to hear about a massive injustice, Heart. And you may or may not know this, but this is the podcast where we talk about bones, bone-related topics, and terrible shit.
Yeah, topical, political things that are happening in our country today, because bones are intrinsically tied to our rights as humans. And a lot of those are being threatened at the moment. I know we're coming in hot, but there's no time to spare.
Sometimes there's no need for chit-chat.
We didn't have some episodes for a while. Now we're recording episodes again. If you've been here hanging out, listening to old episodes, thank you so much. If you're joining us here for the first time, welcome. This is going to be an extremely intense episode, but this was something I was really called to talk about. We're going to be talking about Adriana Smith, who is a Black woman who was declared brain dead and then forced to carry her child after she had passed. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. So with that, so many trigger warnings of death, of course, racism, injustice, medical abuse,
traumatic pregnancy,
fetal endangerment. This story is filled with topics that are incredibly sensitive and nuanced. And so I would like that if you are going to stay and listen with us today, that you listen with an open heart and that you keep in mind that the people that we're talking about in this case are absolutely real people living right now. And this is the America that we are living in currently. And as we're talking about this, I would love people to think about what can be done. We'll talk a bit about, at the end, steps forward in a positive way. But yeah, I told Katelyn that this is something that I really wanted to talk about because I felt that what was happening in our country is so deeply wrong.
It is. It's, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different political issues that are going on, but in the world of reproductive rights, it feels very hopeless. It already felt hopeless. I think that particularly started for me when Roe versus Wade was overturned.
Absolutely.
And it's just been shown time and time again that female bodies are seen by the government as a vessel for more people and by extension, like more workers in a capitalist society.
Absolutely.
And I'm getting really into it here, but like the juxtaposition of being super pro-life and wanting children born at any cost while simultaneously ripping away programs like SNAP and any program like free lunch at school, just like things where, you know, the poorest members of our communities and societies benefit and are getting food to eat. And we can't even do that anymore. It blows my mind. And so this story, I followed it in the news. It really just proves that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel we're going to get worked up with this one. But before we jump right in, I'm going to rattle off some sources, and I will also have some organizations to pass off to Katelyn to put the links on our website. So if you feel inspired to donate to groups fighting for our reproductive rights, please check those out. So for our sources, we have, of course, 2 Wikipedia articles, the Cleveland Clinic, The Independent, University of Boston, a blog post from the U.S. Department of Labor, Bio and Ethics Today, The Guardian, NBC News twice, 3 times, and an article from ABC News, an article from Atlanta Capital News, and a Google Drive belonging to the family of Miss Smith.
Okay.
Adriana Smith, who was also known as Lucy to her friends and family.
Cute.
I know. I thought that was adorable.
I love the name Lucy so much.
Me too. She is actually only a year younger than me, born June 15th, 1994 in White Plains, New York.
God. Okay.
Her family moved to Georgia when she was very young, and she had always displayed an artistic spirit. She was interested in hair and fashion and nail art and more. It seems like there was not a creative pursuit that she didn't love and that she wasn't good at. But after she graduated high school, she followed her strongest love, which was that of helping people. She decided to go to school for nursing.
Wow. You have to have a big heart to do that.
Absolutely. Nurses are some of the most important people in our society. Also, shout out my mom, who is a nurse. So Adriana quickly showed her passion for nursing and graduated in 2022. And she was considered extremely hardworking by everyone who knew her. She was a wonderful mother. She had a 7-year-old son. Adriana also built an amazing life for herself. It seemed like she had really strong family and friends by her side. And everyone that she worked with said that she was an incredibly capable, passionate, and compassionate nurse, which is hard to be. You know, nursing, I think, is a field that can wear on your empathy and it can wear on your mental health. And it seemed like she used her power of love and faith to uplift those around her.
Yeah, that's definitely a rare quality in people. And especially in healthcare, I mean, compassion fatigue is real. Taking care of people, seeing them at the worst points of their life. I answer the phone and schedule surgeries in a vascular surgery department, and I find myself having compassion fatigue, and I'm not touching nobody. So I really can't imagine what healthcare providers go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And, 2022, 2023, those are intense years.
We're still coming out of COVID when she graduated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, heck, I talked to someone a couple of days ago who said that they had COVID a couple months ago. So, it's not over,
it's
people.
It's still out there. It's still fucking out there, people.
Ever vigilant. So she was working as a nurse and supporting herself and her son when she started experiencing these really horrible headaches.
Ugh.
And these headaches had been persistent. And in February of 2025, she went to the Northside Hospital in Atlanta. And doctors looking back at the case now believe that it's possible that she had a brain bleed at this time. But when she arrived at the hospital, she was not given a full neurological workup during her visit. So then they gave her some medication for her headaches and sent her on her way.
So like she went to the emergency room?
Yes.
And was worked up? Okay.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't given a neurological workup.
Okay. So they worked up some parts of things. Okay.
Yeah. I can't say what they did for certain, but they didn't give her the full neurological exam that one might give if someone was concerned about someone's brain.
Yeah. And like with really bad headaches, that seems like an oversight, but who knows? That's it. Hindsight is 2020, but still.
Exactly. And we'll talk about what may or may not have influenced the kind of care that she received.
Oh, okay.
Because Adriana is a Black woman in America. That is the context of this entire case.
Sure.
So the morning after, her boyfriend calls 911 because Adriana woke up and having trouble breathing.
Very serious.
Extremely serious. They rush her back to the hospital. She's transferred to Emory University Hospital, where she actually worked as a nurse.
Oh boy, that's hard.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. CT scans at this hospital revealed that there were multiple blood clots in her brain. And
oh my God.
Yeah. And her condition deteriorated rapidly because it was declared that she had had a massive stroke.
Jesus Christ. She goes in for headaches and they're just like, they don't do a CT. I thought you were going to, like, when you say neurological workup, I was thinking, oh, they didn't do an MRI, but they didn't even do any imaging. That's crazy.
No, because they would have seen this. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Dude, they were so horny to give me an MRI when I just had dizziness.
Yeah.
For context, those who do not know me, I am a white woman. Just putting that in that context. But, you know, they wanted to give me every type of scan when I came into the emergency room.
And most of that stuff is covered by insurance because if it's in the emergency room, it's not like optional. You know, most insurance coverage, if it's done at the emergency room, it's going to be, you know, they're going to get paid for it if the person has any insurance.
But, oh boy, if, say, you didn't have insurance and it was going to kick in a week or two and you went to the hospital.
Fuck.
Well, that's my situation. I have no idea what her insurance situation was like. I was just laughing about my own as I have been hit with some massive medical bills myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. God damn it.
That's okay. So due to this massive stroke that she has, she is declared brain dead.
Like the day after she was at the emergency room and they didn't really do anything.
Yes, in either the day after that, like very quickly.
Jesus Christ.
She ended up passing, yes. She was then moved to Emory Midtown. And of course, every part of this is horrible, but she was also 9 weeks pregnant when she died.
Here we go.
So this is in February of 2025. In mid-May, this is when we find out about this, you know, as a public. Adriana's mother, April Newkirk, disclosed to local media that Smith's body, her daughter's body, had been on life support for 3 months to let the fetus grow enough to be delivered without the family having any say in the matter.
That's the part that's terrifying.
Yes. So due to Georgia's anti-abortion laws, the hospital felt it necessary to keep Adriana Smith on life support until they could take the fetus out of her and it could grow outside of her body. Let that sink in to everyone listening. We're going to get into this even further, of course, but that is what our government has mandated, or what the ambiguity of our government's mandates produces. Because we're going to be talking about Georgia's abortion law, which is known as the Life Act, ironically enough.
Yeah, can't wait to hear how much life they're saving.
Oh, yeah.
And what's the quality of that life? But, oh, never mind. As long as they're born.
As long as they're born, and whatever
doesn't matter.
Happens to them after that is none of their business. Okay. Georgia's House Bill 481 restricts abortion once a fetal heartbeat is detected. So this is basically a 6-week abortion ban. And the only exceptions for this are cases with a police report for incest or rape. And then you can have later abortions if there are fetal abnormalities or if it is deemed a life-threatening risk to the mother. So this was initially passed in 2019, and it was ruled unconstitutional in 2020.
Oh, what changed then?
Well, in July of 2022, the ruling of Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization overturned Roe v. Wade. And now that law can be fully enforced, as we are seeing now. So what Adriana's mother reported to the media was that once her daughter was pronounced dead, the plan was for them to keep her on a ventilator until at least 32 weeks of being pregnant. And then they would try to deliver in heavy quotes, this baby.
Okay, you might be getting to this,
Yeah.
Did a judge rule on this at any point, or is this just the hospital's discretion?
I did not see a ruling anywhere in a court of law about this.
Yeah, that's hard for me to understand. Like, I don't know. Does that mean that are the doctors like very pro-life, or the people that made this decision, are they pro-life, or are they afraid of getting in trouble? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
So the situation that we're caught in here is that this is wild thinking, but the thought is here that the hospital has to keep her alive because to let her die fully, because let's talk a little bit about brain death for a second, because brain death is the legal and medical term for the death when your brain stops working fully. And this can happen in a brain injury or illness or severe damage to your brain stem. But your brain stem in particular manages your breathing and your heart rate. So when you are brain dead, none of the functions that your brain provides can continue happening. So the rest of your body may be fine, but your brain is dead. This is different from a coma, because a coma, you are just unconscious. And it's actually very likely that you will wake up from a coma. Most comas last only around 2 weeks. But in brain death, there is no chance of recovery. Mm-hmm. You are never waking up.
Oxygen has been deprived from the brain for too long. It sounds like she had clots. That's really bad.
It's really horrible. And there's a really stringent category of symptoms that doctors use to diagnose brain death. It's not something that they diagnose lightly. And it's oftentimes very hard for people to accept, because when they go into life support and supporting these organs, a person can look perfectly fine, even look as though they are breathing, but this person is never coming back. Mm-hmm. So the bill is written in a way that does not cover this type of death.
No, this is a crazy situation for sure.
This is an extremely unique situation that the bill doesn't cover. So the doctors are caught in this type of ambiguity where if they are to let her die with a viable fetus inside of her, that could be, some people argue, supporters of the bill argue, that could be considered an abortion.
I just don't really think it is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, if we are to take a critical lens at it, it is possible that the bill is written so vaguely that it will catch cases like this and cases that operate outside of the norm. I think this is, you can't say endangering the life of the mother because the mother is gone.
Yeah,
there is no mother.
There is no mother, and there is a 9-week-old fetus. Yeah, I mean, nobody wants this fetus to die in this situation. Like, it sounds like she had another kid.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but is this the solution? I don't think it is.
But it's especially heinous because her family has no say in this.
That's the part that's really upsetting. Like, if this is what everybody close to her wanted, I mean, it's still disgusting, but at least it's what the family wanted. But this feels very just political when it's very much a personal medical situation.
Absolutely. And the lengths that they have gone to obey this law are just cruel and hideous, because this woman passed away in February. They kept her on life support until June. Until June, Katelyn.
That's so crazy.
The woman is dead. And she celebrated her 31st birthday on life support. Pregnant on life support.
That's horrible.
It's horrifying. So on June 13th, 2025, her child was taken out of her body by cesarean section. The child was named Chance. It was a little baby boy. And he was born weighing 1 pound, 13 ounces.
Oh my God.
And he is still in critical care. He was born at just 6 months of gestation, and his birth is actually classified by the World Health Organization as extremely preterm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to say I'm glad that the baby made it so far, but it's like, that's a very complicated statement. Like, I don't want anyone to die. You know, like even in the as pro-choice as I am, and I know that you are, I'm not like jumping up and down at the thought of an abortion. Nobody is saying that. And I think there's like people that think that, oh, you're pro-choice, you're like okay with death. That's not it at all.
No.
It's that it's a woman's body or a person's body.
Yes.
And it's their choice if they want to carry life. Like, very simply, we don't have to do what, your God thinks is correct, because that might not be true with what I think of my God. You know what I mean? Like, healthcare is not one size fits all. And so this doesn't make any sense.
And healthcare should not be used as a tool of the state.
No, it's just...
Because that's what is, allow me to be really extreme for a second, but, it's the doctors that are keeping her on life support, but it's the law. It's the state. It is the government that demanded that this woman stay as a fucking incubator for a child they don't give a shit about.
Exactly.
They will let that child starve and die out in the community because of lack of resources for schools, for, like you said, free lunches, aftercare programs, childcare. Yeah, they don't want to pay for this kid's childcare. Nothing beyond that point of birth, beyond the point where the doctors get to cut this tiny, barely a human being, given no chance, probably is going to live with a lot of complications from the way they were born, brought into the world. And from the moment it exited that woman's body, they said, I wash my hands of this, because that's when they care. And the fact that they kept her like this for so long without the family being able to say goodbye to her right after her passing, to keep her in this horrible limbo, this chemical medical limbo. It's dystopian. It's unforgivable. It's cruel. It's disgusting.
It feels like The Handmaid's Tale.
It feels like The Handmaid's Tale. It feels like some sort of sci-fi fucked up novel that I'd say, Joe, stop reading that. It's going to give you nightmares. It's beyond the pale.
Well, one thing that I'm thinking about too is if that child makes it and has like normal brain function, when you learn about your birth story,
oh God,
how the fuck is that supposed to make you feel?
I hadn't even thought of that.
Like that. Imagine being that little boy at 16, 17, Googling his own name or Googling his mom's name, and this is what you're going to find. Like that. Again, like you said, it's very short-sighted. It's like once the umbilical cord is cut, it doesn't matter what happens to them. And there's just no thought for their physical well-being, let alone the mental well-being.
Yeah, a lot of people have said this, but they're not pro-life, they're pro-birth.
Yeah.
They're pro getting more babies out into the world, more Americans to work and feed the capitalist machine. But when you zeroed back down from that big idea down into this one person, this mother who was every single one of her rights taken away, any kind of agency, goodbye. It's horrible. It's horrible to think of.
and her family's agency, who would assumedly know what she would want, or at least make the best judgment call. Again, this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. And I think that if we're so worried about following the letter of the law and we're not worried about medical care, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
I truly don't know. So I think with this conversation just leads perfectly into all of the ethical questions and context around this case, as we've just been talking about. You know, these questions of who gets to decide what happens to women's bodies. Already, like, the very first layer of this context is the fact that there is so much medical racism. As I hinted, is a very light word for just saying, you know, right off the bat, I just think there is so much medical racism in our medical system today. From a post on Boston University's website, the U.S. has among the highest maternity rates in the developed world. Much of these deaths, 60%, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, are preventable. And within this context, the likelihood of dying from a pregnancy cause is 2.5 times higher for Black women in this country than for a white woman.
That's terrifying.
It is. They break the numbers down even further, saying that for every 100,000 deaths, 44 non-Black Hispanic women die in childbirth versus only 17 white women. So out of 100,000, 44 versus 17. That's more than double. According to a recent study, the National Institute of Health found that healthcare providers are actually less likely to identify pain in the facial expressions of Black faces than on the countenances of non-Black ones. Because they didn't see it, they were less likely to believe a Black patient was experiencing severe discomfort or acute pain.
Whoa. So then, my question is, if her pain had been worked up more thoroughly that first night, you know, I mean, clots in your brain is extremely serious. So I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if she could have even been saved.
Yeah.
But you have to wonder.
That is exactly my point here, is that could she have been, like we said, she did not experience a full neurological workup when she went to the hospital. Could further scans and tests have revealed any of this?
And would it have made a difference?
Yeah, exactly. We have no way of knowing. Yeah. But it is yet another factor in this. And this is actually not the first time, Adriana's case is not the first time that a Black woman specifically has been brutalized by this law in particular that we're talking about. There are two other cases, Amber Nicole Thurman and Candy Miller, who also died from abortion-related complications because of this law. So both of these women actually ordered abortion pills online because of Georgia's strict restrictions. So they're trying to get healthcare from outside of their state. And abortion pills from a reliable source are perfectly safe. I just want to tell everybody that this is not to say, always be careful. If you're buying medication online, always know where you're getting it from. But if you're getting it from a reliable source, abortion medication is perfectly safe. But unfortunately for both of these women, it did not fully expel the fetus.
Okay.
So in the case of Thurman, she went to the hospital. She went to Piedmont Henry Hospital in Georgia. But doctors, according to the law, had to wait until her situation was considered life-threatening, or these doctors could face up to 10 years in prison. So by the time they performed the procedure to finish the abortion on her 20 hours later, she died on the operating table at age 28.
Yeah, she
20 hours. 20 hours.
Only until it gets life-threatening. I'd say it was life-threatening from the get. She probably had a massive infection and sepsis from the fetus that was the parts that were left behind. And then she didn't make it because they felt like they had to wait.
Yes, absolutely. It's horrifying, and it continues. Candy Miller, she tried to take painkillers after her abortion had failed. She was taking painkillers to cope with her pain because she was 41 years old and she had lupus and diabetes and hypertension. And her doctors told her that if she got pregnant again, she would not be able to make it through the pregnancy. She was having an abortion so that she wouldn't have a life-ending pregnancy, is where we're at.
Jesus Christ.
And she chose not to seek any medical treatment after this failed abortion. And after suffering for days in her home, her husband found her unresponsive in her bed.
So she died at home. She didn't even make it to the hospital.
She didn't even go because she knew that they would not help her until she was on death's absolute door. Would they not lift a finger to help her?
God. I mean, I think like when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I think I heard on the news quite a bit people are going to die from this. And that is coming to fruition.
Absolutely.
It may not be every day since then, but it is happening. And people are having to make these decisions because they feel like they have no other choice rather than making decisions, weighing out all of the options that are best for you.
Yeah, because in both of these cases, doctor intervention at a hospital could have saved them. But, the penalty of the law stops both them and the doctors. Going into our kind of second point through these ethical questions, there are 1 million ethical questions, by the way. If we were to list out every single ethical question with this, we'd be here all day. But these are just a couple of ones that really stood out to me. Second was that every patient has the right to refuse care and to dictate their own care. And if they don't have the right to dictate their care, their next of kin does, because hospitals have to follow something, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, called an advance directive, which says, what is to be done if the person is incapacitated. Like I'm sure you've heard of DNRs, do not resuscitate, or other medical planning that is written down in a legal document and agreed upon with your doctors.
A part of that is also having like a healthcare agent that you name in that document too. So like, hey, if I can't make decisions, this is who makes the decisions. And then this is the backup. And then this is the backup and so on.
Exactly. Healthcare professionals, next of kin, naming these people in the order in which they are allowed to decide for you what happens to your body in a medical setting.
Yeah.
It does not seem like the hospital followed this at all.
Well, clearly, if the family was just like felt so desperate that they went to the media, I'm not understanding why a lawsuit wasn't filed. But, who knows? Maybe lawsuits are expensive. There's a lot of reasons that you would go about it this way. But I'm just surprised that a judge didn't have to rule on this at all.
I have not seen anything about a lawsuit, which is so interesting because that could definitely be coming.
Mm-hmm. I mean, emotional distress for the family, 100%. Their daughter's just like you said, in limbo for at least 4 or 5 months.
Right? Yeah. And the lasting trauma of this, it cannot be imagined or calculated.
No.
And
I'm thinking about her other kid now, too.
Oh, God, I can't even imagine that poor child.
And they were 7. So oh my God, more trauma that's going to be inherited when that poor child Googles anybody's name in their family and finds this story.
They're going to remember
if they don't already
it.
Know. Yeah,
they're going to remember all
know.
of this. Yeah. This is horrible. And of course, our last kind of question that I want to focus on is, and we touched on this already, but does allowing a pregnant person to die constitute an abortion? I would say no.
No.
Abortion involves the deliberate act of ending a fetus's viability for that purpose only. Letting this woman die fully, I do not believe is an abortion. In many of the articles that I was reading, many law professors weighed in, and there were many interesting opinions, but the overarching one is that an abortion has to have intent to end the fetus's existence for the purpose of not being pregnant anymore. It is at best a side event with this woman. Like, if you were to do this, if you were to have this case again, the ending of the fetus's existence is just connected to the ending of the woman's existence.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a pregnant woman is not going to survive and the fetus is past that, like, there's some amount of weeks where they can live outside of the womb, like 6 months or whatever it was. Like, I think, yeah, try and get the fetus out if it's possible. But I just think because the fetus is only 9 weeks old at that point, like, I don't see the duty to keep the mother's dead body pumping blood, basically, as a solution.
Yes, and this is entirely experimental. This is not something that is done regularly at all. When I was looking,
I mean, thank God. But
yes,
like,
of course.
This is like a Frankenstein experiment in some ways. Like, and I'm not saying that to be funny. Like,
no,
that is what it feels like.
No, none of this is a fucking joke, because, like, it's so horrific that it can only be compared to something that is literally classic horror. One of the very first stories to be circulated that scares us to our very deep core is the lack of agency over our dead bodies. And just what happened to this woman, there are no words. And, you know, it's going to keep happening if this law is allowed to be enforced the way it is now. There are people who are, of course, taking this on head on. U.S. Representative Nikema Williams from Atlanta with U.S. Representative Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts and Sarah Jacobs of California introduced a congressional resolution in June urging the government to clarify how anti-abortion and fetal personhood laws can be interpreted by medical personnel. So this resolution would basically seek to outline more medical situations and outlines so that this does not happen again to anyone else.
I hope that is successful, but I worry that our lawmakers won't pass anything like that with the majorities that are in the House and the Senate, I mean,
absolutely. This is an uphill battle in the society that we're in right now. I think anyone who's been paying attention in the last 10 years has seen reproductive rights slide hideously backwards. And these cases like this one, and all the cases to come, and all the ones that have come before, are on the hands of people who believe that it is the government's job to regulate pregnant bodies.
It's not. Spoiler alert.
It's not. Thankfully, on June 28th of this year, Adriana was eventually put to rest.
Good.
Mourners gathered for her on a beautiful Saturday morning at Fairfield Baptist Church, as well as hundreds of other people online who watched the funeral in support of her family. Her family held a beautiful service, which also included the Atlanta Metropolitan Nursing Honor Guard, who made a tribute to her, lighting a Nightingale candle in her honor. The Florence Nightingale candle serves as a symbol of the nursing profession and in remembrance of Adriana's life.
Oh my God.
Her younger sister gave a statement and said, quote, "I just want to say that I'm thankful for the time I spent with her, and I'm thankful for everything that she's taught me, her love, her kindness, her wisdom. I'm just praying that she comes to me moving forward and she guides me to make the best decisions.
Oh, this is so heartbreaking for her family.
It's a loss for her family. It's a loss for her community. It's a loss for the nursing profession.
Her passing is a tragedy in itself.
Yes.
And then you compound tragedy with more tragedy by keeping her body alive as an incubator. That's what it feels like. And
a symbol as to say, like, every person who can get pregnant or is pregnant, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we can do. Your fetus belongs to us. Everybody register to vote. I end this really hideous story by saying that I hope that if spirits exist and that if souls exist, that hers finds the best resting place possible, and that, you know, it will not be troubled by the horrible things that happened to it in this life. If you feel moved by this story and by the cause of reproductive rights, please look into donating to organizations like Planned Parenthood, and especially to SPARC, which is the National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agency. We'll have a link for that, as well as Reproductive Freedom for All, and they have a Georgia chapter that you can donate to specifically. Thank you so much, everyone, for sticking through this really upsetting and tragic injustice that I am reporting to you, but I felt that it was really necessary. People needed to hear about this because we cannot let this keep happening.
No, and it's easy to just read headlines and to not really understand the full impact of stories like this. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Thanks for hearing her. And yeah, we'll be back sometime in the future with another episode.
Thank you so much for listening. And please take care of yourself in the coming weeks and days. And as always, bon voyage.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
at Chubby Scrubby on Twitter
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
at Camilla Strader on Instagram
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe.